To get to that larger view of all of the dependencies and constraints that are included in a project, we need to start at the beginning. So open up the Task Dependencies exercise file in your file folders. And what you'll see is a screen very similar to what I have in front of me here. And I've taken all of the project's tasks and I've collapsed them into the main phases of my project. So the main phases of this particular project are defining the project scope, developing the functional site, asset production, beta site creation, production site creation, and finally the project completion. Now, these particular phases depend one on the other in order to be completed. I can't start the asset production until I've developed my functional site. So how do I create the dependencies within these particular different phases? Well, the easiest way to do that is to take the table that you see here and click and drag the line to expose another column, which is predecessors. And in this particular column, I'm going to identify what set of tasks need to be completed before I begin my next set of tasks. It's easily done by placing the mouse and selecting the cell for the group of tasks that I'm working with. So for developing the functional site, all that needs to be done after I've done phase 1. So I place a 1 in that column. Notice after I do that there's a line in my Gantt chart connecting my phase 1 set of tasks to my phase 2 set of tasks. Similarly, I'm going to identify that task 34 can't be completed until task 7's grouping has been completed. So I put a 7 in here. And similarly, I work my way down through the list. And as I go through that list, you'll see that the Gantt chart displays graphically what is connected to what. So I'm just going to finish up putting in the task dependencies here. And you'll notice when I did that, it says I cannot make a task a predecessor of itself. So it's always identifying for me where I've made a mistake and double checking to see that I'm not creating loops. So there's a lot of intelligence within this application that's identified in here. So I've finished my predecessor tasks for the overall phases of the project. As I expand each of these tasks, I can then do the same thing for all of the different subtasks or different steps within each of the project tasks as I go through the different stages of my project. Another technique that you can use to link tasks together is to connect them visually in your Gantt chart. You can select the predecessor task and click and drag it to pull into the subsequent or successor task, and you'll see that the link has now been identified here. I'm just going to move this over a little bit so we have a better visual of the linkages between the two tasks. Again, you select the task, the predecessor task, you click and drag down to the successor task, and you'll see that you've created a linkage between the two. The predecessor column gets updated as you do this. A final way that you can link between tasks is to select the predecessor task, select the successor task, and using your icons at the top on your toolbar, use the link icon that will connect the two together. Next, we'll take a look at some of the different types of task constraints that you can use within the task dependency grouping.